Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another video in my fertility trying to conceive little series on here, and today we're going to be talking about the 3 ways that I track my cycles, in particular my ovulation, so that I know when it's time to do the baby dance. So if this is you and you are on your trying to conceive journey and you are just totally unsure about the when to do the baby dance, when to have sex with your partner so that you can fall pregnant that month, this is the video for you. Okay, so before I dive into the ways that we can know whether or not we are ovulating that month, let's talk a little bit about what is normal for our cycles. So if you are experiencing a cycle that is in and around 28 days, you are bleeding for between 2 and 3 of those days, nice fresh blood that isn't a huge amount of clotting or terribly heavy, soaking a pad per hour or two without any pain, and it's fairly regular, that is a lovely healthy cycle. If, however, you are having any sort of pain during your cycles premenstrually, is not normal. It is common, but it is not normal. It can be a sign that there's something going on. If you're experiencing quite heavy periods and or you're experiencing terribly long, short or irregular cycles, these can all be indicators that there's something else going on. So when we talk about the ways that we can track our ovulation, if for instance you have PCOS or if you have some hormonal issues going on there, things like your temperature, your ovulation strips aren't always going to be the best indicators for you. And so I am going to talk about some of the other more accurate ways for you to track your ovulation here, but it's important to know that those factors should be taken into account when you are trying to conceive. And for me, if you're having heavy, painful, irregular cycles, that is always going to be a little red flag in my book. So when I'm working with a client, we will then take that as a cue to dive a little bit deeper, to maybe go ahead and get an ultrasound done, to look at diet, stress, sleep, other lifestyle factors, getting a full, really detailed range of blood work done to figure out what's going on there. And if you are coming to this video looking to conceive after loss, I'm so sorry that your baby didn't get to stay for as long as they should have. And while miscarriage is very common, again, it is not something we should be normalizing. There is almost always a reason why these little ones don't stick around. And for the most part, with the right interventions, investigations, and support, we can try and find the reason as to why it's happening. So seek out the support if you haven't already. Send me an email if you're looking for some one-to-one support, and I would love to help you find some answers. I am deviating from the topic today, but all to say that I'm sending you love and hope and baby dust. And I'm going to talk a little bit more now about the 3 ways that you can track your ovulation. Okay, so the first way that you can track your ovulation is by noticing that increase in your basal metabolic temperature. So that is your baseline, your core temperature, increasing as we have this lovely spike, that rise of luteinizing hormone, and our body gears up towards releasing an egg. We have an increase up to 1 degree of our basal metabolic temperature. And in order for it to be super accurate in us taking that, we need to be tracking the whole way along through our cycle, ideally getting a full night's sleep. So if you are like me, still nursing another baby during the night, or you are having unbroken sleep, or perhaps you're working night shifts, this might not be so accurate for you. You also need to make sure that you are taking it almost immediately as soon as you wake up. So before your eyes even open, you want it somewhere where it's super easy access. You can grab your thermometer, take your temperature, and have it be a really prompt reading after your full night's sleep. So you don't want to be sitting up, having your coffee, reading your book, and then taking your temperature. I hope that makes sense. So that can be a really nice indicator that you are peaking and likely to ovulate on that day or within that next 24 hours. So that's your tip number one, is to start tracking your temperature. And you don't need to have a fancy app to do this. You just need to have a thermometer, probably the one that you already have at home, not the ones that are like the light scan ones. The ones that go underneath your armpit or in underneath your tongue are the best ones to go for, and it's super cheap. So that is the first way that you can check your ovulation. I've now just realized that there are really 4 ways that I'm going to talk about, but I can link 2 of them together. So the next 2 are going to be looking at your cervical mucus or discharge, whatever you call it, along with your cervical position. So our cervix normally is tucked away, closed, and posterior. Feels generally like the tip of our nose. However, as our body is going ahead to release an egg or ready to receive sperm, our cervix becomes softer, more forward, lower, and more open. So becoming super familiar with your body, what is normal for you, and developing that intimate relationship with yourself can be a surefire way for you to know what's going on with your body. And along with that symptom, if you will, you should notice a surge, an increase in that lovely viscous cervical mucus, which if you were to rub a bit between your fingers, it would be very much stretchy and like the white of an egg. So again, getting to know the difference between, tracking a full month and seeing how your body is responding, see what's normal for you during your different phases, means that you will become more familiar, so that when you do go ahead and ovulate, it will be something that is much more clear for you. So get to know yourself, get to know your body, and those symptoms and signs will become much more obvious. And then the last one is something, again, why I made that wee disclaimer in the beginning, and this is tracking using ovulation or test strips. And what these detect is that luteinizing hormone. So the reason that I'm kind of iffy in even talking about these is that what it tells us is we are rising with a crest to that peak, that luteinizing hormone, but it doesn't actually tell us if we go along and actually release an egg that month. And so in reality, if you are maybe still breastfeeding a baby, if your cycles have not yet returned, if you are have PCOS or have maybe some different thyroid conditions, over or underactive thyroid, relying on these test strips it wouldn't be wise to rely on these as your only form of knowing when you are going ahead and ovulating, because it can be quite inaccurate. It'll tell us maybe when you were gearing up, but not actually if you go ahead and release an egg. So sometimes helpful if you were completely unaware of your cycles to try and figure out when that might be. The difficulty also with these is you might get a smiley happy face, or a flashing face, I think is the clear blue ovulation sticks, if you were to test between 11 and 12 that day. But if you were to have tested first thing in the morning and then last thing at night, you might actually have missed this flashing face, and so that can cause a lot of worry, a lot of concern, never mind the fact that they are very expensive. So that is why I think they are a nice add-on to those other things that are much cheaper. They are easier to do, and it's a lovely way of you trusting your body and getting in tune with your body, as opposed to relying on a product that you have to buy. I hope that makes sense. And then the fact that if you have PCOS or you've got quite high kind of androgen hormones, they can be inaccurate. So looking at your cervical position, cervical mucus, tracking your basal metabolic temperature, and then considering whether or not you want to go ahead and start tracking using ovulation sticks. These are all the ways that I recommend tracking your ovulation, so that you can know when is the right time to make a baby. If you've listened to all of this video and you're still here and you're like, oh my gosh, Kitty, I can't, that is so overwhelming, I'm just not going to do any of those things. If you are to finish your cycle, when you finish bleeding, decide to start having sex every 2 days for that following 2-week period, you will likely catch the ovulation. Sperm stick around for a wee while. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be about like having that exact day. Try and have fun with it. Try and let go. Try and focus on connection instead of doing the baby dance at that exact moment, because when it becomes forced and a job, it makes it much less fun. I am sending you all so much love and so much baby dust, and I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to be making a wee vlog of like our fertility journey at the moment and some of the bits and pieces that I am doing, including some of the details on the way that I track my cervical mucus, the way that I'm tracking my temperature, the way I'm feeling during my cycles, and I hope you find it helpful. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.